Hey team, I hope you're all well. Gary here from Gary Rankin Coaching, and today I want to share with you some tips on developing self-discipline. Please make sure you've got your pad and pen or journal handy because there are going to be plenty of questions and exercises as we go through this video. So please feel free to pause and answer them as we go along, or you can watch it all the way through and then come back to them, whatever works best for you. So, self-discipline, what's it all about? Self-discipline is all about prioritizing what we want in the future over the temptations and temporary comforts and pleasures of the present moment. It's about delaying gratification and doing what we say we're going to do to get the results that we want. So how do we go about developing self-discipline? Firstly, by deciding what it is we want to be disciplined for, creating a sense of purpose that we can draw upon to compel us to take action and consistently follow through again and again to get what it is we want. So, what is your goal? What is it you really want? And more importantly, why is it that you want it? And then digging deeper by asking why again and again to each of these answers until you get to that deep, compelling reason. Why is it you really want it? Why must you have it? What is it that it's going to do for you? After that, we want to take stock of our personal strengths and weaknesses. So with our goal in mind, what strengths do we have that we can utilize and double down on to help us to achieve the result that we want? And what weaknesses do we have that we maybe want to develop or completely mitigate to help us to make progress and keep taking action? In terms of weaknesses, I also want you to think of what specific temptations may arise that will deter you from being disciplined, from taking action, and from getting the result that you want. So for example, if your goal is to lose weight, then maybe you will be tempted by some of the things living in the cupboard or fridge. So take a moment and take stock of what your personal strengths are, what your weaknesses are, and what some of the temptations are that may come up and get in the way. Now you know exactly what it is you want, why it is you want it, you've developed that sense of purpose, and we've taken stock of our personal strengths and weaknesses. Now it's time to ask ourselves, what is my action plan or strategy for achieving the outcome that I want? And when thinking about this, I want you to get really specific. What is your very first step? What are the things you need to do, and when is it you need to do them? The more clear and specific we can be with this, the easier it is to follow through and consistently take action. Because when things are unclear, when they're unspecific, that's when it's left to us to then make decisions in the moment. And in the face of resistance and temptation, this becomes even more difficult. So get super, super clear on what your plan is. What is your very first step? What is it you need to do? And when is it you need to do it? Fantastic. Now you've set a clear goal and you have a strategy to execute to help you get the result that you want. Now it's time to ask yourself, what may get in the way of me taking action? What problems or challenges may arrive in the process? In light of my action plan, which of my temptations or weaknesses could I be likely to face? And once you've taken time to consider the answers to these questions and written them out, now it's time to create some contingencies, some plans that you can put in place to help you to mitigate, overcome, or course correct in the face of these challenges. This isn't necessarily about creating a completely new plan B. It's about creating some small action steps that you can take there and then in the moment to allow you to stick to and follow through with plan A. So, what are your contingencies to keep you taking action? At this stage, we now have a goal. We have a sense of purpose. We know what our strengths, weaknesses, and temptations are. We've designed a strategy or action plan, and we've even planned some contingencies that we can put in place if things don't go quite to plan initially. So now it's time to think about habits and success rituals. Small things that we can do habitually that are going to trigger us into taking action, following through, and getting the result that we want. And so, with these, we want to keep them super simple because the easier an action is to start, the more likely we are to execute it and follow through on it. Hence why when we were thinking about our strategy or action plan for achieving the goal, one of my questions to you was, what is your very first step? Because in practicing something that we want to be disciplined in daily in our lives, we want something that we can execute easily and habitually. So, for example, if you're someone who wants to begin working out in the mornings, then a habit or success ritual you could have in place starts the night before. We leave our phone in another room, so when we wake up in the morning, we're not tempted to pick it up and get sucked into social media, news, or other things that distract us from our goals and disciplines of the day. We could leave our exercise gear lying on the floor beside the bed so that as soon as we step out of bed, it's there for us to put on. So thinking about your discipline, your goal, what it is you want to achieve, what are the very first steps in you taking action to do that, and how can you create a habit or success ritual from it? Remember, the quicker and easier you make it for you to start, the more likely you are to do so and then follow through. So what are your habits and success rituals that are going to take you to success? Closely related to our habits and rituals for success, we want to begin to think about our ecosystem for success. And our ecosystem for success includes the environment around us, the content and things which we're regularly consuming, and the people that we're spending time with and being influenced by. So in order to give yourself the best chance to succeed, have a think about your physical environment around you and how it is affecting and impacting you. So for example, we may want to remove certain temptations from our environment by not having certain foods or certain drinks within the house. We may want to leave our phones in another room so when we wake up in the morning we can get straight out of bed and into action. Maybe we want to take the batteries out the TV remote and hide them somewhere that it's difficult for us to reach so that in the morning we're not getting straight up and watching the news, we're reading something positive or getting straight into whatever it is we've committed to doing. In terms of content, we want to be listening to positive, inspiring, motivating content related to what it is we want to achieve. Because the more we listen to, watch and read things related to our goal, the more inspired we become, the more resourceful we become, and the more we stay focused on what it is we want, which is ultimately going to help us to continue to take action and follow through. Lastly, we want to take into consideration who we're spending our time with. And that doesn't just mean people that we're physically in the room with, but coaches and mentors that we're learning from. We want to find coaches and mentors who have the answers to what we want, do it in the way we want to do it, and allow us to execute and take action in a way that feels good to us. So, think about your ecosystem for success. What do you need to do to your physical environment? What kind of content do you want to consume? And which role models do you want to spend your time learning from? Yes, team, you're doing absolutely amazing so far, and you now have a solid plan in place that is going to take you well on your way to developing self-discipline. There's just the last few things for us to consider. Firstly is accountability. Accountability is a hugely powerful tool that gives us some form of external factor that is going to hold us committed to what we say we're going to do when we say we're going to do it. Whether we use an accountability buddy, set ourselves some form of deadline, or use our coaches or mentors, the purpose of accountability is to give us someone or something outside of ourselves that's going to compel us to take action and get what we want. And so, you can pick a friend who has shared goals or values and voice to them what you say you're going to do when you say you're going to do it. You can set yourself a deadline where you say to people, I'm going to turn up at this place in this time, or I'm going to have this thing completed by this time. Or we can say to our coaches and mentors, here's what I'm going to do, here's when I'm going to do it, I'll message you when I'm done, and if you haven't heard from me, please message me and ask me how I got on. So have a think. With who and how can you hold yourself accountable to staying committed, taking action and following through? After accountability, the next most important thing for us to think about is embracing failure, forgiving ourselves and moving forward. Success isn't linear. Conditions aren't always perfect. Not everything is done well. At some point we're going to fail. At some point we're going to mess up. At some point we're going to fall short. And that is perfectly okay. Failure is only a bad thing if we think of it as a bad thing. Failure can only stop us and stunt our progress if we allow it to. And so if we accept the fact that at some point things aren't going to go well, we're going to mess up and we're going to fail, then we can plan ahead for that so that when that happens, we be kind to ourselves. We forgive ourselves for whatever actions and decisions led to that failure, and we pick ourselves up and take that next best step forward. Last but by no means least, if you find that you are struggling to take consistent action and follow through on your commitments, then that's perfectly natural. Discipline is a skill, it's a mental muscle, and it's something that we need to develop and strengthen. And maybe at this stage, what you're asking of yourself is just a wee bit too far out with your reach, and that's okay. All we want to do is simplify the goal, make it so easy that we could trip up and fall over the finish line. So that if the goal is so simple, we can take action on it and achieve it every single time. So, for example, instead of saying you're going to complete an hour's workout, tell yourself you're just going to complete 5 press-ups. Now you might say, Gary, 5 press-ups isn't going to get me fit. You're right, it's not, but neither's committing to an hour's workout that you're never going to do and beat yourself up for not doing. Whereas if you commit to, for example, the 5 press-ups, you can wake up in the morning, get your 5 push-ups done and be like, yeah, that was a success. If you want to exercise more, do so. If you don't, walk away a success. This won't get you fit, but what it will do is build a habit of doing what you say you're going to do when you're going to do it. And doing that builds self-trust. Doing that builds momentum. Doing that will allow you to follow through with your commitments, and that is what will get you fit and healthy. And so, from everything that you've done today, from all these answers, these strategies, these plans, these contingencies you've put in place, it all boils down to this: deciding what you want, deciding what you're going to do, and deciding when you're going to do it, and most importantly, following through on that. So take all of this today and boil it down to what is your simple action step. When is it you're going to take it, and what do you need in place to make sure that gets done? Because when you take action on what you say you're going to do, you build self-trust, you build self-confidence, you build self-esteem, you build momentum, and all of these things contribute to that habit of discipline and move you forward to getting what you want. Remember, greatness is a lot of small things done well day in and day out. And so focus on the small, simple things. Master those, do those well, you'll develop discipline and you'll get what you want. If you've got any questions on this, then please feel free to ask your coach to reach out to me, or you can get me directly on social media. On Instagram, it's @GaryRankin_. Take care, take action, and I'll see you very soon. Peace.